we're told to prepare, which is what we're doing. We're prepared, but we're not going there.
Good evening. Apologize for being late out of closed session. With it being 6:40, I will call the Francis Howell School District meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Messed it up. It's my last meeting. It's my last open session. Bear with me. I apologize. I would like to welcome Emily Hood. She is with Francis Howell North, and she is the JEA Student Journalist of the Year, and she is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Emily. Board, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda for March 12th, 2020 as presented.
So moved.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Rain, second by Mrs. Walker. All of those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Dykeman for our recognitions this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Koch. The Missouri School Boards Association, or MSBA as it is affectionately known, annually recognizes student excellence with the John T. Belcher Scholarship. The local Board of Education selects a nominee based on academic achievement and leadership abilities. The Francis Howell Belcher Scholarship nominees are Mark Mitchell from Francis Howell High School. He could not be here this evening. He is on a band trip. Mark is an Eagle Scout and an accomplished musician. He's participated in marching band and drumline all 4 years of high school. He's been awarded multiple gold medals for his performances in solo and ensemble competitions. He's a member of the National Honor Society and volunteers at a local food pantry. Mark will be attending Missouri S&T in the fall. Alexander Anderson from Francis Howell Central is also an Eagle Scout and an AP Scholar. Alexander, could you come up, please? Alexander has been a member of the varsity swim team since he was a freshman and has been a state qualifier every year. He's also a saxophone player and earned a first chair in the St. Louis Metro District 8 Honor Band. He's a member of National Honor Society, the National Spanish Honor Society, FBLA. Alex has a 4.63 GPA, and he will be attending the University of Missouri-Columbia to major in business. Akruthi Pasuparthi from Francis Howell North is enrolled in the Technology Solutions strand of the CAPS program. She's an active member of NHS, Color Guard, Mu Alpha Theta, and serves as a mentor in the FHN Mentor program. She's enrolling at Missouri S&T in the fall and plans on majoring in mechanical engineering. And she has a mean grip. Well, Francis Howell School District, the Board of Education, is proud to announce that FHC senior Alexander Anderson is selected as the Belcher Scholarship representative for the Francis Howell School District. There will be a $1,000 annual scholarship awarded to one student in each of MSBA's 17 regions, and a statewide winner will be selected from the regional winners and awarded an additional $1,500. Congratulations to all 3 of our nominees. Mom and Dad,
Bring your phone, I'll take one with
you
your
have to be on the other side of the camera. Hold on just a second. We could actually have Ruthie do recognition. She does the announcements at Francis Howell North. That's a great broadcast voice. Congratulations. It may be hard to believe to look at her now, but as a freshman at Francis Howell North, Emily Hood was shy and timid, but had an eager interest in learning anything and everything she could. That passion for education led her to a passion for journalism. Now, 4 years later, Hood is a confident and well-spoken executive producer of Francis Howell North's Today video team and has been named the 2020 JEA Student Journalist of the Year from Missouri. Director of Student Media Aaron Manful says, Emily has worked so hard for the past 4 years in the journalism program. She's done so much. There isn't a creative area that she hasn't touched, whether it's writing, design, photography, or video. Emily is determined to let the voices of others be heard in her work and in society. During her freshman year, Emily started a weekly news show, The Hood Report, which highlights everything from pop culture to politics. She also serves as a representative on the National Quill and Scroll Student Board and has worked at the state level to try and get legislation passed for more press rights for high school students. After high school, Emily plans to continue her passion at the J School at the University of Missouri. And for her long-term goals, her dream is to move to Washington, D.C. and work for the New York Times or the Washington Post. Ladies and gentlemen, our future Pulitzer Prize winner, Emily Hood. Get in there, Grandpa.
All right, you have to adjust a little bit. You have a short WordPress. I almost feel like I could start another row. There we go.
You want the back row in?
Mr. Summer, just a picture, please. Congratulations, Emily. And now, here to introduce our student board representative is Francis Howell Union Principal, Rob Goff. You can applaud that.
It's my honor to introduce Peyton Estes as Francis Howell Union's senior board representative today. He's the son of Anthony Collins and Stacy Estes Collins. Peyton has been at Francis Howell School District since starting 5th grade at Henderson Elementary. Peyton's smart, caring, fun, just a very family-oriented young man. He's always been very curious, adventurous, and your mother says stubborn. We'll do that. Okay. He's an amazing artist and enjoys writing stories and illustrating those stories. He has a passion for video games. He works at Taco Bell for the past year and a half, is learning all the ins and outs of the restaurant industry, including training new hires. He's undecided upon his his next steps after Francis South Union, but more motivated than ever to succeed and continue to grow as a young man. Peyton's mother shared some other things about Peyton. His school career started, as a journey to find his way. At age 9, he was diagnosed with being on the spectrum. Interactions with teachers in school were a challenge for him. He felt unmotivated and disconnected. The cycle continued through middle school and into high school, where he felt as though he was lost in the crowd. He was accepted to Francis South Union as a junior. There, school and his whole life and attitude about the world has changed. He began developing genuine relationships with his teachers. For the first time ever in his school years, his mother says, he was sharing stories about school, his teachers, and his day. One of the stories she said is that when he first started Union, one of the teachers had emailed her asking, what does Peyton enjoy doing? I just really want to open a conversation with him and get to know him. I'm willing to talk about anything with him. I just really want to connect with him. And this is true, I suppose, that he's that he really has just flourished at Francis South Union. He participated in a program we had with the Plato at Mentum, testing some new virtual reality things that they're putting out to try to see how that's going to work. He begins his day every day with that smile, we greeting staff, and that's why we chose him to be the honorary board member today, and it's just I'm proud and honored to have him here tonight.
So he'll help you throughout the meeting. You get to participate fully in our conversations. You can ask questions if you'd like. Push the button. You kind of lean forward so I can see that you want to talk, and then I'll call on you if you'd like to make a comment. You get to act fully as a board member tonight, except for voting. Okay? All right. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
All right, board, next on our agenda is patron comments. None this evening, thank you. FHEA, ESPA. Board, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Mrs. Stickledge, seconded by Mr. Lang.
Yep. Can we remove J from the consent agenda for a separate vote?
So board, we have a recommendation. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda less section J. Motion made by Mrs. Walker, seconded by Mrs. Stickledge. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so item J is our board. I will entertain a motion to approve the policy review second reading as presented. Motion made by Mrs. Walker, seconded by Mrs. Stickledge. Mr. Hank, did you have some concerns with this area?
No, I understand that the committee had a lot of discussion on this, and that it's just the language that's used on the asterisk, right? And I just disagree with that, so that's what you're going to have.
Any additional information, comments, or concerns from the board?
Do we normally put things in for one school year into policy or regulation? Is that a typical thing we do?
It was a request from our board because of the calendar committee moving that day. So if we typically had Good Friday as a no work, no pay day or a paid holiday, and the calendar committee chose to have that as a student contacting work today. So we moved that holiday to the Monday after, and that didn't align with policy. The board had requested that we go back and work on a revision of that policy. The committee did have a lengthy conversation regarding how to best approach that. And after lots of conversation, it was the consensus of the entire committee to bring forth the change just for the 2020-21 school year. We know that the 21-22 school calendar will have the Good Friday holiday on Good Friday.
So will it automatically fall off then next year, or will we be making sure that we remove it so it's not there anymore?
We could bring forward a change in the policy to remove that sentence.
Ms. Stickledge?
I would like to know, I was a member of that policy committee, and Mrs. Simpkins is totally correct when she says there was quite a bit of discussion on this topic in that policy meeting. Mrs. Simpkins, correct me if I'm wrong, but is there any way that we had talked about, since we didn't really want to change the policy, could we have just suspended the policy for this 1 year only without having to write a new policy for the whole year?
It is my understanding that we could suspend the policy for the 2020-21 school year, and as a matter of practice, follow the policy and the paid holidays that we have listed in the policy, and then unsuspend the policy for the 21-22 school year.
Basically, it's just the same thing, it's just a logistics thing, correct? Okay, just checking.
Board, any other questions? All of it,
I'll just say typically suspending a policy is pretty short term, not over the course of a year or more.
I'm sorry.
I'll just say typically suspending a policy is short term until the board has a chance to determine a final action, and it wouldn't be typical to suspend a policy for as long as we.
Okay, thank you. So board, the motion on the table is to approve the policy review second reading as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. All right, next on our agenda is academic high target, our best practice. And we're gonna hear about our Henderson home visits.
Good evening, President Coe, members of the board, and executive cabinet. It is my pleasure and honor tonight to introduce to you Dr. Jeanette Barker, principal at Henderson, Mrs. Ashley Bankston, fifth grade teacher at Henderson, and Miss Corinne Myover, the educational support counselor at Henderson. This year, they're going to talk to you tonight about their experience with home visits and their partnership with the Homeworks organization. So without further ado, Dr. Jeanette Barker. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Henders Harris, Board of Education and Executive Cabinet. I've already been introduced. I do want to say that we are going to stick to our script tonight, so because we're all very excited about this practice. And if we don't stick to the script, we'll go over our 7-minute allotment. So don't start the stopwatches until I say go. No. So I know that Mary Hendricks Harris has shared some of the EAP research with you all last spring, and she's also shared it with the elementary principals and the educational support counselors, and we in turn have shared it with our teachers. And one of the best practices in that research is to do home visits. And so when Henderson was looking for an alternative to our traditional parent-teacher conferences, the Homeworks program kind of presented itself to us. So the main goal of doing home visits are to build relationships with students and families. Having school personnel come into our families' homes gives teachers and staff the perspective on student home life. It helps us see where our students are coming from through the lens of their realities. For our parents, it helps build bridges and connections to school. Desired outcomes include improved student attendance and academic achievement.
Hi, friends. Okay, my name is Ashley Mason. Just that elementary takes over. My name is Ashley Mason. I'm a 5th grade teacher at Henderson, and I'm also one of the site coordinators for our home visits. I work directly with Homeworks Foundation to help implement home visits with our families. So how does this all work? And what do home visits look like and sound like? Well, Dr. Barker referred to our whole staff being trained at the beginning of the year's teacher meetings. After the training, we had 36 staff members indicate that they wanted to go on home visits for this school year. We explained to our families that the home visits would replace parent-teacher conferences. Classroom teachers usually served as the lead visitor, and other teachers, staff, and administrators served as our co-visitors. Before going on any home visit, we made a lot of preparation to make them successful. Our grade level teams decided what curricular focus that we wanted to have during the home visit. Each grade level team created a goodie bag to leave with families. Each goodie bag had grade appropriate math and reading activities that were shared with the students and the families. Visits are designed to last about 30 minutes. Mine were a little bit longer. And the classroom teacher is usually, like stated before, the lead visitor, and another teacher or staff member attends as the co-visitor. Okay, so you guys have in front of you the Cradle to Careers Pathways, and this is a form that we were given from the Homeworks company that we work with. And it was awesome to share with the parents because this was one of the things that were in our goodie bags. And it also kind of gave the parents an idea of where their child, my student, falls on the Cradle to Careers Pathways. So that's what you have in front of you. So we immediately stopped and we would look together at 5th grade and see what your student, your child, should be doing at 5th grade, and then where they need to be as the future takes them. So that's what you have in front of you. So I am very passionate about the home visits. It was my absolute favorite part of Homeworks. In my classroom, it was a game changer. It was a huge relationship builder, which is my favorite thing about being a classroom teacher. So it was not only a relationship builder with my students, but it was a great relationship builder with my parents as well. It was very eye-opening because I was in their environment. I got to see what they go home to every night. Students were excited as they got to answer their front door as I came to their house. The end of the home visit was my favorite because it always ended with me getting either a tour of their home, maybe a tour of their bedroom, playing with a pet, and there is nothing better than coming in the next day. And during our class meeting, my students love to hear about what my home visit was that I went to last night. Whose was it? What did we do? Whether it was Marley and her dad fixing us tacos for dinner was a huge surprise, or Gavin or Walter in my classroom and being able to be on the floor rolling around with their pets from home. Our class community has built a stronger bond between us all. My class is more of a family than just individual students. So that is my testimonial, and we have a short video that we would like to share with you that shows what our students and a parent experienced during their home visit. So take a look now.
How did you feel when they came to your house? What does that mean?
Happy.
And did they bring you stuff?
Yeah. We had little like square cards that are sight word with little blend sight words. We had letter clips with the mats, and it had little letters they gave us, and so books, the purple crayon, and the duck truck. So we had sight words. We would look at the sight words, say it, cover it with one of the words, write it, and then check it to see if we got it right.
How do you feel like it maybe is different this year with Miss Bitter because they were able to come to your house and do that home visit? Did that change anything for you?
It changed because it seems like I can actually talk to Miss Bitter and I can be closer to Miss Bitter because she understands me more. Like last year, our teacher was nice, she understood people, but I guess since Miss Bitter came to my house, she understands more about me than just like how I am at school.
We have one son in kindergarten, and when we were approached about homeworks, we were like, well, we'll give it a shot. We don't know what it is, but we're open. And the very first visit, which happened at our house, it was great. It was comfortable, it was relaxed. It was also convenient because I have 3 kids and 2 of them being toddlers, so I didn't have to go anywhere or find a sitter. And then really, it just really focused on what our child knew, where he was at, what they were working on in school, and then we worked on goal setting, not just for the teacher, but for us as well.
My name is Corinne Myover, and I'm the Educational Support Counselor at Henderson, and I'm also one of the site coordinators for our building. We wanted to share some interesting facts with you about our experiences with Homeworks, the Homeworks organization, and how involved Henderson has been this school year with our families through home visits. We had a family dinner in the fall, and we had 172 people attend. It was really neat because teachers and staff got to sit down with the families and the kids and all eat dinner together and have that community. We had a presentation for the parents, and little activities for the kids, and parents were also able to share with those parents who hadn't had home visits yet. The ones that had got to share their great experiences with them, so they could hear how much they really liked the home visits. We had 36 members of our staff go on home visits, and we really had people from every area. We had counselors, support staff, special area teachers, special education teachers, and administrator all attend at least one home visit. And we had a total of 154 home visits done this year, kindergarten through 5th grade. Teachers and staff have expressed to me that they really enjoyed the home visit process. They feel more connected to their students and their families, and they have a better understanding of the students and their strengths as a learner. In kindergarten, we had 30% of the students at the grade level receive a home visit. In 1st grade, it was 37%, and in 5th grade, it was 68%. We're excited to share that we have a higher attendance percentage for those students in grades K, 1, and 5 who participated in home visits as compared to those students who did not. Since all of our 5th grade teachers opted to do home visits, we looked at their reading data. The more data triggers, the more intervention is needed for reading. In 5th grade, those students who had a home visit had fewer reading data triggers than those who did not have a home visit. We want to thank the district for allowing us to think outside of the box and to participate in home visits this year. And does anybody have any questions?
I just want to say, don't thank the district. We want to thank you. You guys have really stepped up, done something innovative, and we're so proud of the work that you've done in Henderson. It really has made a difference, and you guys are on the leading edge of the pioneers across our district. Thank you.
So I would like to say how excited I am about this program. So one of the things that you mentioned is making a connection and a relationship. So we talk all the time about how do we make sure that our children are connected to the district, and you found a great way to do that. So thank you for that.
Board, any other questions? Ms. Walker?
So I can share from the parent perspective because we got to participate, our family, and Miss Bankston is actually my son's teacher. So honestly, I think it was probably one of the most memorable things that my son will have through his entire elementary education. He was so excited, I'm gonna get teared up. He was so excited for you to come over, and it was interesting because you don't ever see, your teachers don't come over. I mean, it was incredible, and him being able to show you his room and play with the dog, and I mean, it was fantastic. I cannot thank you guys enough for doing this. It was incredible, and I hope that we can expand it.
Thank you.
And I'd like to make a small suggestion, as you may want to branch with Susan Lane, parents as teachers, as you go in those home with toddlers and all that. Just bringing literature in for the family would even branch out more and get them more prepared for school.
Great idea.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great. Hey, Mr. Biden, absolutely.
Coming from the student point of view, I have always wanted to get to know my teachers more as people, not just the person who tells you what to learn and stuff. So I think it's a really smart idea you guys came up with, and I wish I got to know my teachers as more like friends sooner. Maybe when I actually learn with them and stuff. So.
Excellent. All right, thanks all. All right, next on our agenda is our MSBA board report.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's board report for the month of March. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at the 2020 census. A count of every person living in the United States, regardless of age, race, or legal status, is conducted every 10 years as required by the U.S. Constitution. Missourians will be receiving postcards this month asking them to respond to the 2020 census. The count is very important to school districts as it helps determine the allocation of more than $800 billion in federal funds to states and communities. That includes support for school programs and services such as special education grants, the National School Lunch Program, and Head Start. In addition, the census is used to determine the number of seats in Congress and to redistrict boundaries affecting the state legislature. Here's more information on the 2020 census.
We have so much to gain by responding to the 2020 census. That's because the federal funding we get depends on how many of us respond. Funding for paving roads and building bridges, for books and meals for students, and for making sure our hospitals and healthcare centers have what they need to care for our families, friends, and neighbors. Because here's the thing, for every adult and every child that doesn't respond, we lose $1,300 each year. More census responses mean more money for our communities. Respond to the 2020 census, because Missouri counts.
The U.S. Census Bureau estimates nearly 1 million children were not counted in the 2010 census. Children not counted in the census can impact a community for at least 10 years. For school leaders, accurate information supports school districts in planning for funds and resources needed to provide every student with a high-quality education. Census Day is April 1st. For more information, visit the Missouri 2020 Census website. More than 200 school board members and administrators traveled to Jefferson City last month to participate in MSBA's 2020 Legislative Forum, Advocating for Children. The event featured remarks from Education Commissioner Margie Van Dieven, along with several breakout sessions on current legislative issues and tips on effective advocacy with state legislators. A panel discussion with legislators, including the new chair of the Senate Education Committee, Senator Cindy O'Loughlin of Shelbina, featured a lively discussion on the issue of charter school expansion. One of the panelists, State Representative Kathy Swan of Cape Girardeau, said current state laws governing charter schools need to be revisited.
We have a 20-year patchwork system of statutes regarding our charter school problem. Anytime you have a patchwork, sometimes it doesn't integrate well and doesn't interface well. The initial mission of charter schools was that they would be schools of innovation. We seem to have gotten away from that mission, and I certainly think that local communities have a right to weigh in, allow their local school to be a sponsor of a school of innovation in your community, and we are doing some of that with our current K-12 schools in some districts. It could be a charter school or it can be you, yourself.
Representative Swan is a member of the House Elementary and Secondary Education Committee. Bills now being considered in the Missouri General Assembly to expand charter schools beyond St. Louis and Kansas City fall well short of providing adequate accountability to taxpayers for student performance and the use of taxpayer dollars. Another featured speaker at the event was Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, who encouraged school board members to be advocates for education with their state legislators.
But your opportunity to spend a little bit of time here, away from your communities, your homes, your families, your businesses, your workplace, and just look those men and ladies in the eye and tell them what you're doing and what you're doing for the kids. I just tell you, this is a great opportunity for you. And don't discount the impact that has, because they'll hear from plenty of professionals throughout the year. But hearing from real people, the folks who put their name on the ballot, who ran for the school boards, who are actually putting the time in as community leaders to make a difference in kids' lives, your chance to impact those discussions today is incredible. So thank you for coming down to visit. I think that makes a huge, huge difference.
Following the session at this year's legislative forum, board members and administrators did have the opportunity to visit with legislators at the Capitol. It's important that you stay in contact with your legislators during the remainder of this year's legislative session to communicate with them on the impact pending legislation will have on the students in your school district. Once again this year, MSBA invited students from school districts throughout the state to participate in a student showcase at the Capitol, where they were able to talk about innovative programs in their school districts with school board members, administrators, state legislators, and other state leaders. We thank all the students who participated in this year's student showcase. MSBA will be hosting another student showcase during this fall's annual conference in Kansas City. MSBA spring regional meetings are coming up in April and May. A meeting is held in each of MSBA's 17 regions in the state, and it's a great opportunity to network with your colleagues from your area of the state and to share ideas. Topics for this year's spring regional meetings vary by region, and you can find out more about your regional meeting and register for the meeting by visiting the MSBA website. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
All right, next on our agenda is fiscal responsibility. Board, I'll entertain a motion to approve the purchases over $7,500 as presented. Motion made by Mrs. Walker, seconded by Mrs. Lane. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Also, under fiscal responsibility in our information section, we're going to hear a little bit this evening about our agreed upon procedures audit round 2. Mr. Supple?
Thank you very much, Mrs. Cope. The memo that the board received outlines that we've identified the scope for the second round. We will be, as was recommended by our auditor at his report on round 1, we'll be doing an audit of cash receipts, so that will include gate receipts, food service deposits, and school petty cash accounts. We've done a lot to eliminate petty cash accounts in our schools because we're able to utilize our P cards, which reduces the need to have cash in our buildings. But there is a need to have cash for some purposes, and we just want to make sure that there are good procedures in place that all of that is being properly accounted for. We're also going to take a look at disbursements, mainly focusing on what our banking processes are. So are we paying bills correctly and so forth. And we've also identified grants as an area where we would like them to take a look at what's happening. I'll just kind of preload the conversation. As Dr. Hendricks-Harris and I had a conversation about the scope, we specifically identified the grant process, and I fully anticipate that there may be some recommendations for improvement in that area. One of the reasons is that while the other procedures that we've looked at have been centralized within the finance department or the human resources department, where we have an ability to more tightly control the process and train people how to do things, our grant process are often initiated at the teacher level, and not all of our teachers are finely tuned into the processes and procedures that we need to follow. And so we do occasionally find ourselves where teachers get excited about a prospect and they're way down the road before they follow the procedure that we have in place. So we wouldn't be surprised if through the audit process there are some recommendations about what we can do. We don't want to discourage teachers from applying for grants, but we do want to make sure that we have an opportunity to vet the process so that we know what's being applied for and that it can be sustained within our school district, depending upon either that it's a good match with our curricular initiatives, or that if it requires some ongoing work, that it would be something that we would sustain after the grant funds were completed. So if the board has suggestions about other things they would like us to focus on, we could certainly entertain that now. And of course, this would be an ongoing process, so we'd certainly welcome suggestions, not just for round 2, but for other rounds of this as well. I do think that working with KED, they think that this engagement would be approximately the same amount of time as last, which is about 50 hours of field work, and that would be about $6,000, just so that the board has a concept of what is being spent on this work.
Board, any questions around round 2? Mr. Payne?
Yeah, I noticed on here we're selecting February or February to June. Was there a reason for those months? Are those high volume months or low volume months, or was it just strictly random?
I think it was strictly random. That was a recommendation from the auditor.
Okay.
So we didn't have input on the months. They just picked those.
Okay. And then I noticed here on there doing 5 athletic events, and they just said reconcile. Just a request that, you know, they take those from different times of year. I hate for them to look at 5 basketball games, because if we have problems in another area, that crosses over different spectrums, if that's a possibility.
We can probably, for there to be a reasonable, either we would have to delay the report on that aspect until they've had time to do several different types of sporting events, or we could look for potential commonalities of problems or things that exist in one sport and make sure that they're corrected as we move forward. I'll have a conversation with the auditor, but if we had to, especially given where we are right now with the season, we would either delay the work until the fall, and then it would have to stretch over several months in order to sample more than one sporting activity.
Right, and even if it's something that doesn't fit into this phase, maybe it's something that we carry over to the phase 3 project, so that it can be, you know, better, more applicable.
We could probably give a preliminary report for what was found for the work done right now and ask them to perform similar work for other sporting events as we go through the year, and just marry those together as to whether there's any difference between, because there certainly could be a difference between the spring sports, which may or may not have the same level of attendance as some of our sports that take place in the fall. And there could be a greater opportunity for there to be discrepancies given a larger number of attendees.
Great.
It's a good recommendation. Thank you, Mr.
And I think along that same line, Mr. Supple, you know, if we are concerned in this area, we think we may have some opportunities for improvement in tracking those findings, tracking the corrective actions, and then retesting. And so, agree, we may be able to retest in a slightly different way or area to make sure that the corrective action we put in place carries through.
Great.
Board, any other questions, comments? Mrs. Stiglitz?
It says that they're gonna select one middle, one high school, and one elementary. Who picks those? Do they just automatically pick, or do we get to ask them, tell them who we'd like?
I would defer to the auditor to pick those so that it's not, I wouldn't want someone to feel that I'm directing them to the school that I think does the best job. If it's a more random selection by someone who's not intimately involved with the operation of our district on an ongoing basis, they have a greater opportunity to have a truly random sample of what's happening. Otherwise, I would choose my high flyers all the time.
That's what I was hoping. Thank you. All right, any other questions, board? All right, thank you, Mr. Supple.
You're welcome.
All right,
next on our agenda is superintendent comments.
Just a few. So we're proud to announce that Deanna Anderson, a reading teacher at Harvest Ridge Elementary School, has been selected as the 2020 District Teacher of the Year. Chrissy Pagnotti, Site Secretary at Sager Middle School, has been selected as the 2020 District Support Staff Employee of the Year. Francisco North Senior Joanna Dorman and Francisco High School Senior Reagan Cathcart both captured state championship titles at the Misha State Swimming February. We will be recognizing them both at the April board meeting as we do for all of our state champs. Congratulations to Francisco High School Principal Dr. Jay Wedlock. The Missouri Interscholastic Press Association has selected him as their 2020 Administrator of the Year. Dr. Wedlock will be recognized at the 51st Annual Journalism Day on Wednesday, March 25th at the University of Missouri, Columbia. 5 Francisco School District students who are blind or visually impaired recently put their skills to the test and earned some impressive awards at the Missouri Regional Braille Challenge, hosted by the Missouri School for the Blind. Over 90 high school students from across the district who recently attended the Missouri State Thespian Conference held in Kansas City. During a 3-day conference, the students competed in a variety of theater events and took home some impressive awards and honors. Francisco School District Board of Education Director Janet Stiglich has recently been recognized for achieving advanced certification in the Missouri School Boards Association Certified Board Member Program. She joins Mary Lang, who received her advanced certification in April 2019, and Chad Lang, who received his advanced certification in November 2016, and master certification in April of 2019. On Wednesday, April 1st, the Francis Howell North School Student Journalism Program, Francis Howell North Publications, will be hosting a Board of Education candidate forum. The event will be held from 7 to 8:30 in the Francis Howell North Auditorium, located at 2549 Hackman Road in St. Charles. Doors will open at 6:30. Francis Howell School District, in partnership with schools from Lincoln, Warren, and St. Charles County, will host the Tri-County Trades Expo on April 9th from 5:30 to 7:30 at Sager Middle School. The expo is an informational event that encourages 6th through 12th grade students and their parents to learn more about opportunities and careers in the trades. As you know, we are continuing to work on a response to the COVID virus. Circumstances are changing daily. We're working with the health department, our lead nurse, and other districts on next steps. We will continue to update the board, families, and staff. To dispel some rumors I've heard just today at this time, we have no known cases, we are not holding a press conference this evening, and we are not taking the week after spring break off.
Thank you, Dr. Saris. Board, do we have any comments or requests? Let's take a look at our upcoming meetings. Let's first look at our April 16th meeting. Any adjustments, additions?
Mrs. Coe,
Mr.
the projected tax liability notice is listed here as an action item. We always take that as information. I apologize for not catching that. So that's just an information item. And I will let you know that we are required to provide that information to St. Charles County by April 8th. So it will actually be submitted before we present it to the board. But that's not unusual, which is why we present it as an information item. It is a preliminary estimate of what our tax rate will be, so there's really no official action that's necessary, and we are complying with statutory requirements in terms of when we need to submit it to the county so that they can prepare the notices for our community.
Thank you, Mr. Sumble. Any other additions or corrections? All right, let's take a look at our May 21st meeting. Are we aware of any changes at this time? Okay, with that, I would like to thank Peyton for spending some time with us this evening. Did you have anything you would like to say about your experience tonight, or information? You've got us all right here about your experience in Francis Howell.
Nothing really new. I just like to thank y'all for having me up here, and I really appreciate giving me a chance to platform to speak on.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here. All right, with that, for the last time, then I'll say this in open session, I will entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session.
Mrs. Cope, I'd just like to point out that we have extra Proposition S yard signs for anybody in attendance who would like one. Feel free to pick one up on your way out.
Thank you. All right, for the motion to adjourn to closed session? Walker, and I'll take the second from Mrs. Lane. All of those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all for joining us.